I'll be talking to you today about failed fixations of distal radius fractures. But while I address that topic, I'll also try to teach you how to avoid them. Now, a distal radius has 4 critical elements. These are height, stability, congruity, and alignment. The surface should be at the right height, which means ulnar neutral. The surface should be smooth, which means congruent joints. The surface should be aligned in the PA and lateral views, and the surface should be stable, which means intact ligaments. And that for the DRUJ is the TFCC, and for the radiocarpal joint is the short radiolunate ligament, which attaches to the volar ulnar fragment. But the question is, are all these elements equally important? I think not. In increasing order of importance, it's height followed by stability, followed by alignment, and the most important thing in my mind is congruity of the joint. So keeping these in mind, if we ask ourselves the question, what is a failed fixation? It's pretty simple. It's when you lose any of these 4 critical elements: height, alignment, joint congruity, or stability. Well, so how do you avoid it? You begin by classifying your fractures using a very simple and practical method, and this is exactly what I've been doing for about 25 years. I just look at the fracture and decide if it's stable, whether it's displaced or undisplaced. A displaced fracture is one where there is loss of the 4 elements: loss of volar tilt, unstable ligaments, loss of radial height, or a greater than 2 millimeter step off in the articular surface. And my algorithm is pretty simple. If it's undisplaced, I'll treat it non-operatively. If it's displaced, I'll plate it. And all my patients, whether treated operatively or not, are placed in a long arm hinged brace for 6 weeks. So what is our experience? Now, for the sake of this talk, I asked one of my fellows to just look at about 10 years of data. And at that point in time, this was just my patients. I treated about 1,800 distal radius fractures, 1,200 treated non-operatively, about 600 treated operatively. So the first question, why long arm brace? If you look at the literature, you'll realize that scapholunate and TFCC injuries have been described in as high as 30 to 70% of patients, high numbers being reported when arthroscopy was used. By the same token, long-term ulnar-sided wrist pain is seen in 10 to 20% of patients. These happen because of partial TFCC tears where the DRUJ is stable but then becomes chronically painful 6 months or a year later. Placing your patient in a long arm splint reduces these problems. And in my series, the incidence of long-standing ulnar-sided wrist pain is less than 2% compared to 10 to 20% that's generally reported. What about the non-operative cases? Fair with our algorithm, where I just decided they are stable and I put them in a long arm splint. Out of the 1,200 plus patients that were treated non-operatively, we lost fixation in only 8 of them. That is a failure rate of 0.7%. These were people who were initially treated in a splint, but the fracture collapsed in 3 weeks, and I had to change it to surgery. Well, that's the failure rate. Another way of looking at it is saying we had a 99.3% success rate. What about ORIF? Now, most current distal radius systems are subchondral supports, which means your distal radius fixation is likely to fail when your subchondral support fails. Subchondral support is like holding rocks in your hand. If there are a few pieces, it is very easy to hold them. But if there are too many pieces, they'll slip through your fingers. So, how much is too many pieces? Well, if you're talking about rocks, it's just more pieces than your fingers can hold. By the same token, what's a highly comminuted distal radius fracture? It is one which has more pieces than your plate screw system can hold. So if you look at most distal radius plate screw systems, they have about 7 distal screws or pegs for standard size plates. So my definition of a highly comminuted fracture is one that has 8 or more articular fragments. As a consequence, in these fractures, your fragments may settle and sink through the fixation system because of subchondral fragmentation. So of the nearly 600 patients that we treated, 65, that's 11%, were classified as highly comminuted, and we lost fixation in 8 of them. That is 1.4% failure rate. Or in other words, in 98.6% of the cases, the ORIF held. Which leads us to the last question, how do you manage this collapse with implant penetration? Well, you evaluate your X-ray and decide if the critical elements are okay. If your critical elements are okay, I just wait for the fracture to heal, which takes about 6 weeks, at which point I remove the brace, start range of movement and strengthening. I wait about 3 months for everything to consolidate, at which time I remove the implant and then continue range of movement and strengthening. And in all those patients, the outcomes were comparable to the overall group. And in fact, we had the best range of movement in that comminuted fracture because all of them had full range of movement. Here's just one illustrative case. I have more if we have time. I have a habit of drawing the fractures right after the surgery. I describe this as having 15 to 20 pieces. You can see the drawing there. And I also put in my notes that it was extremely osteopenic. If you look at the intra-fixation, everything looks reasonable. But at 6 weeks post-op, you see that everything is collapsing. However, evaluate your x-rays. Now, these are the same x-rays both on the left and the right. I've just drawn the lines there. Look at the articular surface. Things look good. Look at the alignment. Angles look good. And then remember, this is a subchondral support system. So your screws and pegs actually form a raft holding up your articular fragments. So your initial fixation may look good. But if the fragments settle, so if this sort of starts happening, your carpus is still riding on top of your raft, which means you can mobilize these patients without worry. And that's the final outcome of that patient at 6 months. So in summary, the distal radius has 4 critical elements. In my opinion, in varying amount of importance, they are height, stability, alignment, fall, and congruity being the most important one. I use a very simple algorithm deciding whether they are undisplaced or displaced, and based on that, I either treat them non-operatively or by volar plating. All my patients are placed in a long arm hinge brace for 6 weeks. And if the fracture settles, evaluate the x-ray, determine if the critical elements are okay. And if those elements are okay, wait for fracture healing, start range of movement and strengthening, wait for them to consolidate for 3 months, take out the implant, continue range of movement and strengthening. Or, to put it in simple words, if the critical elements are okay, don't worry, be happy. Thank you.